Today, we're jumping into a topic that can literally make or break your SAP S/4HANA Cloud project: test management. If you get this wrong, it can lead to some serious chaos. So let's dive in and see how to get it right.
So here's the big question, right? The one that probably keeps a few project managers up at night. You've done the workshops, you've configured the system, and now it's time for that super critical phase: user acceptance testing, or UAT. How on earth do you coordinate all those different testers and keep track of everything without the whole thing just imploding?
And this is really where the challenge begins. Look, we're not just talking about clicking a few buttons and seeing what happens. It's about creating a documented, repeatable process that proves the system does exactly what it's supposed to do. If you don't have a solid framework for this, you're honestly just asking for confusion and delays. And that framework, that's exactly where SAP Cloud ALM's test management apps come into play. The best way to think about this is as your single command center for everything testing. It's the one central place where every test, whether it's manual or automated, gets documented, tracked, and managed. This is how we bring order to all that potential chaos. Okay, so the very first thing you've got to get your head around is the difference between a test case and a test plan. A test case is all about the what and the how. It's the detailed step-by-step script for one specific test. But a test plan, that's about the who and the when. And here's the key takeaway. You cannot assign a lone test case to a tester. It's impossible. You have to group them into a test plan to actually assign the work out. This is absolutely fundamental.
All right, so let's get into it. First up, preparing those test cases. Seriously, think of these as the individual bricks you're going to use to build your whole testing structure. As soon as your solution scope is finalized, you can start creating these. And you know what? Creating one is actually pretty straightforward. You just pop into the test preparation app, give it a nice clear title, maybe even add UAT in there so it's obvious, and then you link it right to the specific scope and business process it covers. The cool part is, the system is smart enough to then pull in the relevant test steps from SAP best practices. Once you're happy with it, you just switch the status to prepared, hit save, and boom, that brick is ready to go. Okay, now this is super important. A real gotcha you need to know about. When you create that test case, the system just pulls in the titles of the steps, not the nitty-gritty details. What this means is, your tester still needs the actual detailed test script, probably from something like SAP Signavio Process Navigator, to know exactly what to click and what data to enter. This is such a critical piece of the puzzle to make sure your testers aren't just left guessing what to do next. All right, so you've got your bricks, right? Your test cases are all prepared and ready to go. Now it's time to actually build the wall. The next logical step is to create a test plan, which is basically the work package you're going to hand off to your testers. And this really drives the point home. I'm going to say it again because it's that important. A test plan is how you assign work. You could put just one test case in a plan, that's fine. Or you could bundle a bunch of them together for a more complex end-to-end scenario. But the bottom line is, if a test case isn't in a plan, it's not going anywhere. And again, the process itself is super logical. You head over to the test plan app, create a new plan, and just pull in those test cases you already prepared. Then comes the important part. You assign it to a specific tester and give them a deadline with start and end dates. The second you flip that status to in testing and hit save, bam, it's live. The clock is officially ticking for your tester. Okay, lean in for this one because this is a pro tip that will save you a world of pain later. The people doing the testing, especially those experts from the customer's line of business, they must have user accounts set up in SAP Cloud ALM. It makes sense, right? If they don't exist in the system, you can't assign them any work. So get way ahead of this. Talk to the customer's IT contact early on and make sure this is handled. So, let's recap. You've done all the prep work. The cases are defined, the plans are built, the testers are assigned. But what happens on the other side? Let's take a look at this from the perspective of the person who actually has to do the testing. The second you hit save on that test plan, a whole chain of events kicks off. Your tester will see a new task pop up right in their overview app. It's a clear signal that they have work to do. From there, they'll navigate to the test execution app, where they can run through the steps and mark each one as pass or fail. And most importantly, if something goes wrong, this is where they can create a defect, which closes the loop on the whole process.
And there you have it. That's the whole flow for planning and assigning your tests in SAP Cloud ALM. But as anyone who's been on a project knows, finding the problems is really only half the battle. This leads to the next big question, doesn't it? Your team is now ready to find defects, but are they ready for what comes next? Are they ready to manage and fix them? All right,